It's on. Buenos dias, amigos. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of New Bern. As we get started, we offer a gentle reminder to you to please put your electronic devices in worship mode. I'm Stan Allen, my pronouns are he, him, and I'm happy to be your facilitator today.
Hopefully you realize that was welcome to UUFNB. Today we are remembering the dead. So it's remember, and then this is dead. One hand up, one hand down, flip it over. That's dead. So remember, dead. And as always, happy Sunday.
Thank you, Beth. Today is November the 2nd, 2025, and our presenter this morning is our minister, Reverend Mary Martin. She will speak on the topic, La Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. In this place where we keep love at the center and hate has no home, you are welcome here. Whether you are a friend, a member, or a visitor, you are welcome here. Wherever you are this morning, in this room, or gathering on our streaming platforms, or if you are watching this recording, even at a later date, you are welcome here. Wherever you are from, whoever you love, whatever your faith tradition is or isn't, and all the identities you carry with you, you are welcome and celebrated here. Thank you, Beth Ann. That is so beautiful. I love that song. I must have played it 1,000,000 times on the LP and the CD. Calaveritas literarias are poems written during Dia de los Muertos. These playful poems meant to make fun of death and offer social commentary. They've been an act of resistance against authority since the 1800s. This morning we light our chalice with one such poem about the co-owner of a store called Lolo Mercadito, whose mission is to keep Mexican heritage alive. Death arrived to Lolo in her bright attire. Manuel, it's time. No need to tire. Manuel replied without a hint of fear, come see these crafts carefully made right here. From Taxco, I've got jewels that shine like the sun, and rebozos from Oaxaca, so vibrant, such fun. If you take me, you'll miss out art so refined. Better sit down and admire the designs. La Flaca, enchanted, couldn't resist. She tried on a hat and laughed with a twist. The embroidered blouse caught her delight, and she forgot all about Manuel slipping out of sight. When at last she remembered why she came, she said, take Manuel? I'll choose another day. I'm lost in these beautiful works you display. What luck for me. I'll just stay. So in Lolo, she danced around, leaving Manuel with no worries to be found. La Muerta laughed and twirled with glee, forgetting her mission, enchanted by art so deep.
We come now to a sacred time of sharing joys and sorrows. We acknowledge that the personal and the political are often deeply connected. You are encouraged to share your own personal joys and sorrows. A note to our online friends. Our broadcast will be paused during this time, and we invite you to share your joys and sorrows in the chat, online, or by emailing us at caring@uufnb.org. We'll be right back to the live stream when the in-person sharing of joys and sorrows is finished. Just as ripples left behind when a stone is dropped in water, just as those that we grieve, have changed our lives, may we too be changed by the words we've heard here today. Just as the water wraps itself around the stone, may we hold one another close in community, driven to either action or stillness, but always with love at the center. Stan, will you tell us briefly a little bit about your experience with Dia de los Muertos?
Okay. Gracias, señora. I'll be speaking in Spanish. I know many of you remember Bob and Nancy Rao, who sometimes are here but used to be regulars, and they moved to San Miguel de Allende. I was looking that up today, and it seems that old Mexico hands have contempt for people in San Miguel because it's so Americanized. It's about 10% American, but it's a wonderful place to visit. It really is. And so we went there one day. It was one time, Steve and I, that was the Day of the Dead. And it was so fascinating because the ofrendas, yeah, I'm not sure where that R goes, were all around the square. It's a colonial square with these beautiful sculpted trees, and around the outside are arches of these colonial buildings. And against the wall that separates the road from the square are ofrendas, one after the other, that people have made. It's just absolutely fascinating. We went on a tour, a Day of the Dead tour, which was very interesting. We saw a lot of old churches, and old by old, I mean like 1500s. But in some cases, I felt like they had run out there that morning and set up some Day of the Dead stuff for the tour people. But it was very nice. There was something there that was a lot of fun that I haven't seen here today, which is the Katrinas. And I've forgotten exactly how they came up, but these were women who wore hats, elaborate hats. We have a hat maker. She's not with us today. And yeah. Oh, I'm getting to Alice. And make up their faces like skulls. So they're everywhere. And there's even a parade of Katrinas that go through. And Alice is kind of a Katrina, but she's the best we got right now. But maybe next year. So anyway, it really is a great time to be in Mexico. It's a wonderful place, and it's a wonderful town, and I really love it. So.
Hey, why are you going so far away? You still have things to do, sir.
I felt like I was doing joys and sorrows.
I know that I sigh every time I come up in front of you, and that is like my reset. It's not that I don't want to be here. It's not that this has been bad. It's that, like, I think we should all just sigh and breathe for a second. Will you do that with me? I feel better. I hope you do too. 8 days ago, I looked up chalice lightings for this service, and I text Nicolette at 3 o'clock in the morning. This is a true story. Because the very first thing that comes up if you Google UUA chalice lightings Dia de los Muertos is an article from the UUA that says white churches should not celebrate Dia de los Muertos because it's appropriation. And that hurt a little bit. Maybe it was my white fragility. Admittedly, maybe it was that. But I also know that we put a lot of work into the service already. And so I sent an email to several clergy friends, including some that had Latin heritage. Got non-answers back, basically. Appropriation is complicated. Do what you feel is best kind of thing. So we're going to talk about the history of Dia de los Muertos today. And we're going to talk about appropriation. Lucky us. Last week we celebrated Founders Day, and we talked about our circle, about the circle we run with by being a part of the UUA, but mostly about our small little circle here in New Bern, North Carolina. Today, the invitation will be to widen the circle. Dia de los Muertos was celebrated 3,000 years ago by indigenous people in what is now Mexico. Dr. Ellen Rojas Clark, PhD, shared that those who celebrated so many years ago, for them, life and death were not linear like they are for us. It was cyclical. A person lived and then died and then lived and then died and then lived and then died. You get it. In fact, what we consider alive for them was thought to be a dream. And it wasn't until they died that they believed they actually began to live. When an individual died, they went to the land of the dead, and they had to spend years working to pass 9 tests to reach their rest. Originally, the celebrations were held in August, similar to Muktad dates in Zoroastrianism. As people honored the dead, they placed out food to give strength to their dead for their journey through the 9 tests. And sometimes altars were placed on the graves of the dead. Other times, if there was no grave or they weren't close to it, they created these ofrendas in their home. And so you've created a large ofrenda today over in the fellowship area. And I hope that if you didn't contribute anything to that, or even if you did, that you'll go by and you'll look at all of the beautiful, rich heritage of the people that have shared and added to that. The underworld, then, was ruled over by a god and a goddess. The dead person, one, had to go through the 9 regions in order for their souls to be set free, and the journey was 4 years long. I'm going to tell you about each test now. But here we go. The first test involved being guided across a river by a sacred dog. A dog who, if you saw a photo, might remind you a little bit of a chihuahua. But they were considered discerning creatures who would only help people that they deemed worthy to cross. All while, I'm not kidding, a giant iguana is guarding the river trying to prevent your passage. Many of the Calaveritas Literarias mention this river. The next region was called the place where mountains meet, where the ground is unstable and moving. So you're trying to walk through and the ground is sharp and the mountains are moving together and coming apart. It's a constant, extreme earthquake. After moving mountains came Obsidian Mountain, a sharp mountain that cut the feet of those that tried to cross. And then the place where there's a lot of snow. It sounds much prettier in Spanish. To face cold winds, sharp rocks, and nonstop snowfall. Then there was the 5th stage, literally translating to place where people fly and flip like a flag. The 5th region was a desert with no gravity, where the dead had to wind surf across it. Then the place where arrows dart you, a path in which invisible hands threw sharp arrows to those who were crossing. After that, the dead would arrive only to the next region to potentially have their heart eaten by a jaguar. The 7th region, they arrived back at the river from the beginning and must cross this time on their own. And finally, the place where there are 9 waters, in which they had to go through 9 rivers. And this area is very reflective, just like water. And so the dead begin to see glimpses of their own lives. Showing the dead themselves and their own lives increases their self-awareness. Crossing the river involved coming into awareness of the 9 states of consciousness, and ultimately revealed the interconnectedness of life and death and of all creation. All of this for a soul to find peace. And we thought living was hard. It sounds like death was a constant Indiana Jones movie. But there are beautiful lessons to be learned in these stories, lessons about survival and trusting your deepest instincts. And yet, of course, Mesoamerican indigenous people were colonized, and the Catholics brought over their celebrations of All Saints' Day, and the Spaniards brought over their practice of All Souls' Day, celebrated in November. And so it was the merging of all 3 of those holidays, those celebrations, that brought us to Dia de los Muertos. Remember with me, if you remember nothing else from today, that this is not a Mexican version of Halloween. It is not meant to be scary or as a time led by fear. It is its own holiday where the dead get a brief period of time to return to life. They need a break. Did you just hear about all these levels? They need a break. It's a celebration. And with all that they're going through in death, it sounds like they really need it. So as these celebrations were merged together, some Mexicans in the process mocked the appropriation that was happening of their holiday. In fact, much of the customs around Dia de los Muertos mock the European elite and those who are trying to conform to the ways of the colonizers. The skeletons and skulls have an interesting history of them. From the early 20th century, printer and writer cartoonist Jose Guadalupe Posada featured skeletal figures in his artwork to mock politicians and comment on revolutionary politics. His best-known work, El Calavera Catrina, or Elegant Skull, depicts a female skeleton with makeup dressed in elegant clothing. I told Stan I had an idol today. I showed him up. I actually had something to bring today. The cartoon showed her dressed in elegant clothing, and it was meant to be a critique of Mexicans adopting to European fashions over their own heritage and traditions. But this tradition became one of the most recognizable icons of Day of the Dead. It's important, as people who look a lot like those colonizers, that we recognize this history even as we ourselves seek to widen the circle of inclusion. We may not see things the same way they did. We may not understand life or death in the same way, but in every faith tradition, there is some talk about the veil being thinner in autumn, a time when the dead are thought to be closer, or at least a time when we're expected to honor those who have died. When these traditions can survive colonization for centuries, it's a symbol for me personally that there must be some deeper wisdom there, some truth to be found. And it's our responsibility to seek out that truth. It should be more than a colorful altar or a Halloween costume. It should involve reciprocity, like our share the plate this morning with the Mexican. Because when we don't seek to enrich the lives from those from which we learn, we're at risk for appropriating and colonizing. Here's our appropriation talk. Don't leave, stay. Appropriation is a hot button topic lately, and maybe one of the reasons that we struggle to talk about it is because we don't really understand it. It's something that we might feel pretty uncomfortable talking about, but giving value to cultures outside of our own requires that we're willing to be uncomfortable. And I tend to think that we're pretty good at being uncomfortable for the greater good. So come with me for a moment while we do a little compare and contrast. Britannica says, cultural appropriation takes place when members of a majority group adopt cultural elements of a minority group in an exploitative, disrespectful, or stereotypical way. And the Oxford Review says cultural appreciation refers to the mindful and respectful interaction with another culture, and it goes beyond merely adopting elements of a culture, but strives to understand and celebrate the significance of those elements within their historical and social contexts. Sounds simple enough. But anyone who talks about appropriation says how complicated it is. So how about some examples? Appreciation gives without the expectation of anything in return. Appropriation profits off the back of another's culture. Appreciation is inspired. Appropriation takes credit and colonizes. Appreciation is fair trade. Appropriation comes from sweatshops. Appreciation seeks relationship and connection. Appropriation asks, what's in it for me? Appreciation listens when someone is harmed by our actions. Appropriation is defensive and fragile. Appreciation widens the circle of inclusion. Appropriation gobbles up other cultures into its own. Appreciation is in the experience of something outside of ourselves. Appropriation projects and points. Appreciation looks on with curiosity. Appropriation looks on with judgment. Appreciation is willing to go the extra mile. Appropriation scoffs at the inconvenience. Appropriation complains that the Super Bowl halftime show will be in a language that they don't understand. Appreciation turns the volume up and dances to the universal language of music. When we are trying to determine which of the two is happening, the most important question involves taking a sincere look at our motives. But even that can be hard. In a lot of ways, American Christianity doesn't know what appropriation is because we are experts at appropriation. We've appropriated Christ. It's so difficult for us to understand what appropriation even is because we are so busy even making God in our own image that we haven't allowed God or the universe or the higher selves or the common good to be itself. Perhaps it's even led us to suspend our belief altogether. We want so much to shove everything and everyone into boxes that we understand, that already make sense to us, that's familiar enough to be palatable, that we forget that it is our responsibility to expand our palates, that we forget about our interconnectedness. We are so intoxicated with the illusion of our independence that we forget about our interdependence. Widen the circle, friends. And I would challenge you today to widen the circle, perhaps even to those who have died. To those of our founders who have died, whose names we listed last week. To others of your loved ones who have died. To those whose names we will call today. To widen the circle of inclusion to a greater wisdom that their souls experience even now. Because as often as we remember, so too can they, even in death, live. Bendito sea. Blessed be. We have a responsive reading. I know we don't like to be told what to do. It's in your bulletin, though. Responsive reading, Immortality, by Leslie Takahashi. In the daily weave of our lives, those who have died are still strong guiding threads. Theirs is the golden glimmer, or perhaps the brilliant red or the melancholy blue. Still, they are a part of the whole cloth of our lives. They are the ancestors, the goers before. And you say, through this, we know immortality. In the hour-to-hour rush of our daily tasks, they travel with us through something they taught us, which is now ours to do, through something they loved, which is now ours to carry out, through something we shared, which is now ours alone, and yet not. Through this, we know immortality. In the minute-to-minute grasp of where we are, we remember the joys our departed gave us, which opened us up to hope, the sorrows we knew together, which taught us strength, the life shared, which is now ours to steward. Through this, we know immortality. In the second-to-second pulse of life, we sense the spirit of those we have loved and lost. This presence is too shy for naming, too amorphous for full knowing, and yet as real as the days we shared. Through this, we know immortality. They are more than remembered. They are memory itself. For what we love lives on in the way our beloved dead accompany us through our life. Their words and wisdom, our guide. Their humor, our relief. Their restless concern for the world, our change. Through this, we know immortality. The reading of the names may sound a little different this year. We start first by lighting a candle for all in our fellowship who have died in years prior to this one. And now we light candles specifically for those we've lost this year.
Stephen Greer,
Duncan Harkin,
George Hunter,
Lo LaMagna,
Jerry Mackle,
Elisa Maple,
Bob Stevens,
Paula Urban, As our friend Alyssa plays, the next meditation you are invited to come forward and light candles to represent those you've lost yourself. Please come. for all the ways you widen the circle, those living and those dead. We are grateful. Please check out the ofrenda today. And also, if you brought personal items, be sure to take them with you. We want to make sure that your cherished items stay with you today.
They Are With Us Still by Kathleen McTeague. In the struggles we choose for ourselves, in the ways we move forward in our lives, and bring our world forward with us, it is right to remember the names of those who gave us strength in this choice of living. It is right to name the power of hard lives well lived. We share a history with those lives. We belong to the same motion. They too were strengthened by what had gone before. They too were drawn on by the vision of what might come to be. Those who lived before us, who struggled for justice and suffered injustice before us, have not melted into the dust and have not disappeared. They are with us still. The lives they lived hold us steady. Their words remind us and call us back to ourselves. Their courage and love evoke our own. We, the living, carry them with us. We are their voices, their hands, and their hearts. We take them with us, and with them choose the deeper path of living. Shalom. Salam. Ashe. Namaste. Peace.